Hello. Awesome. Just going through, making sure all the streams are online. How's everyone doing on this wonderful Tuesday? Hope all is going well. We'll be starting the mindfulness moment in just one moment. Trying out some different techno setup here. So hopefully you'll be able to see me a little bit easier, and hopefully it's not laggy. That's the trade-off. We might be risking a little lag. Awesome. And now, last but not least, I just need to make sure the people on Zoom can see what's going on too. Lovely. And we are live and good to go. Hopefully everyone can see me and hear me all right. Thank you so much for joining me on this extra special Tuesday for our second midday mindfulness break. Well, actually, this is our second morning mindfulness break, but just taking a moment, whatever time it is always a good time for mindfulness. So let's go ahead and get started. Just gonna adjust the camera. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Salutations, I'm Dan. Thank you so much for being here for this mindfulness moment. I look forward to getting to share this with you. The general outline for the class is we do a review from last week, including a brief overview of yesterday's koan. See, I'm used to doing this on a weekly basis, but with all the changes, we're doing this daily. And so, yeah, we'll be reviewing information from last week, and then we'll be going over a new topic of discussion, and then do a 10 to 15 minute meditation. All right. Now we're going to start each class with our opening ceremonies, as I like to say them, which is first to set an intention. An intention can be a dedication or really anything that you want to add a purpose to your practice. So we're going to do so by setting an intention with a deep breath in and long breath out. Lovely. And we'll start each class with this valuable reminder: the real meditation is how you live your life. John Kabat-Zinn. Just some words to live by, and a reminder with our meditation growth and practice. So I would like to briefly talk about the koan from yesterday. And first, let me review it. A monk told Joshu, and Joshu was a wise Zen master, "I have entered the monastery. Please teach me." Joshu asked, "Have you eaten your rice porridge?" The monk replied, "I have eaten." Joshu said, "Then you had better wash your bowl." And at that moment, the monk was enlightenment. So to me, this koan is a simple reminder to not overcomplicate things. Oftentimes in the search for answers or enlightenment or whatever, we overlook some of the most obvious and next steps. Let's see. Now again, remember that a koan is always up to your own personal interpretation. So I encourage you all to do so, to kind of come to your own understandings. And sometimes the best step is sometimes the most obvious and simplest step, which is just to clean up the mess. And I think this this kind of story, or this koan, kind of really alludes to that. So that's my interpretation of the koan. I hope you have your own, and I would love for you to share them with me as well. Perfect. So next we're going to get into what is the next part of our opening ceremony is, again, the reminder of what is mindfulness. And mindfulness is a combination of awareness, equanimity, and concentration. Yesterday we talked about awareness, which is simply the recognition of existence. Today we'll be talking about equanimity, which is the unconditional acceptance of what is now. And then concentration is the intention to keep in mind's attentions the cultivation of awareness and equanimity. Perfect. And I'm going to adjust my screen just one more time. I apologize. Thank you so much for dealing with this. Just want to make sure that everyone has a nice view. Thank you. Awesome. Just having a little bit of difficulty reading my notes. This should make it much, much easier. And then zoom, just one more second. And we're back. Thank you again for your patience. So there you go. That was a good exercise in equanimity. So what is equanimity? Well, in a lot of ways, equanimity is what we are searching for. Equanimity is a state of psychological stability, composure, in which is undisturbed by experiences, emotions, pain, or other phenomena. So that's a very good textbook definition. And a lot of times when you think of the rugged individuals and the Zen masters, or a lot of the people we kind of elevate within a spiritual status, equanimity is one of those things that's in the forefront. It's, in a lot of ways, it's what we're searching for, yet what exists within us. And that's kind of what I was saying. When we're attempting to balance our energy or stay unfazed or not give a hoot, what we're really trying to do, when we're looking to all those external things, we're really actually looking for something internal. We're looking for an internal balance. A really nice way to say that is the homeostasis of the mind. Just as our bodies are attempting to regulate or balance our internal systems, equanimity is a conscious practice of attempting to balance our minds. Makes perfect sense. So let's talk a little bit about the practice of equanimity. As part of the practice of mindfulness, equanimity is a muscle that we flex that allows us to observe external and internal events without judgment or reaction, right? It's non-reactivity. By allowing ourselves to authentically experience our present circumstances free from judgment, we become more deeply connected with our objective realities, and we begin distancing ourselves from our subjective narratives that we care so deeply about. These subject narratives often provide the greatest source of suffering. So now more than ever, we're living through some very, very, very uncertain times. And it is so easy to get caught up in reactionary behavior and our minds scramble to make sense or solve the current situations. Equanimity is more valuable now, as always, but perhaps more than ever. Nice. And now I am going to do a brief video here. This is the story of the Chinese farmer or the horse, as told by Alan Watts. So hopefully y'all should be able to hear that.
Once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer who lost a horse, ran away. And all the neighbors came round that evening and said, "That's too bad." And he said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back and brought 7 wild horses with it. And all the neighbors came around and said, "Why, that's great, isn't it?" And he said, "Maybe." The next day, his son was attempting to tame one of these horses and was riding it and was thrown and broke his leg. And all the neighbors came round in the evening and said, "Well, that's too bad, isn't it?" And the farmer said, "Maybe." And the next day, the conscription officers came around looking for people for the army, and they rejected his son because he had a broken leg. And all the neighbors came round at the evening and said, "Isn't that wonderful?" And he said, "Maybe." The whole process of nature is an integrated process of immense complexity, and it is really impossible to tell whether anything that happens in it is good or bad, because you never know what will be the consequences of a misfortune, or you never know what will be the consequences of good fortune.
And I love that. I think they kind of the last couple things he says really summarizes the point in this massive interconnected complexity of what is life. It is impossible to tell what is good and what is bad. So I think that's maybe perhaps the lesson of equanimity and the complexity of life. What may be good for one is bad for another. What's bad for one is good for another. And there is no clear black and white. And once we begin to kind of take our grasps out of those conceptualizations, we start to kind of ease our own living and contribute towards our own enlightenment. Wonderful. So with that being said, we are going to get into our meditation for today. This meditation is called Grounded and Flexible, and is a meditation for equanimity. Equanimity is the quality of remaining grounded and stable in the midst of your experience. This meditation is utilized for mindful exercises. When you notice suffering and you respond with compassion, you don't get knocked off by the unexpected. When we exercise equanimity, we are reaching into the deepest recesses of our compassion. With equanimity practice, we can cultivate a state of mind that is both grounded and flexible, especially in the midst of all the chaos. Closing your eyes and finding your comfortable position, simply bring awareness to your present experience. Notice the sounds, the feelings in the body, your overall mental state. Simply open awareness. When something comes up, tune into your mind, noticing where you get knocked off balance. Certain sounds, thoughts, or feelings in the body may be changed, pulling you from your calm state of mind. Simply sit in the depth of awareness for a couple moments, gently returning attention to open awareness. And as the mind wanders, gently guide it back to the experience of the present moment. There's nothing to do, nothing to be. You are as you should be, exactly as you should be in this moment. Good. Now we're going to begin the active practice. Bring to mind someone you care very, very deeply about. Connect with your intention to care for this person. Recognize that although you may care for this person, You cannot control their happiness. Offer a few phrases of equanimity. May you be happy. May you be in charge of your happiness. Your happiness is dependent upon your actions, not my wishes for you. Now hold in mind that person that you care so deeply about, and repeat the phrases again. May you be happy. May you be in charge of your happiness. Your happiness is dependent upon your actions, not my wishes. And one more time. Still maintaining focus on that person you still care so deeply about. May you be happy. May you be in charge of your happiness. Your happiness is dependent upon your actions, not my wishes. Good. Now, let's try to find someone who's currently experiencing pain or suffering. Seems like there's a lot of that these days. Connecting with your intention to remain stable, we're going to offer phrases of compassion and equanimity to those individuals in pain. May you be free from suffering. May you take action to care for your pain. Your freedom is dependent upon your actions, not my wishes for you. Good. Now holding still in your mind that person who's experiencing pain or suffering, or maybe shifting to someone new. May you be free from suffering. May you take actions to care for your pain. Your freedom is dependent upon your actions, not my wishes. We're going to do this one more time, extending these simple phrases of equanimity to perhaps all of those going through difficult times and suffering. May you be free from suffering. May you take action to care for your pain. Your freedom is dependent upon your actions, not my wishes. And finally, we're going to bring to mind someone in our life that has had some joy or success recently. And we're going to offer a few phrases of joy, of appreciative joy, staying connected to our equanimity. May you continue joy. May you be in charge of your joy. Your joy is in your hands and not dependent upon my wishes for you. We don't notice how sometimes even positive emotions can disrupt our equanimity. It's not all negative emotions. So let's continue to offer these phrases of joy. May your joy continue. May you be in charge of your joy. Your joy is in your hands and not dependent upon my wishes for you. And last but not least, we're going to offer ourselves each one of these phrases. May I be happy. May I be in charge of my own happiness. My happiness is dependent upon my own actions and not others' wishes for me. May I be free from suffering. May I take actions to care for my pain. Freedom is dependent upon my actions, not other people's wishes for me. And may I continue joy. May I continue to be in charge of my joy. My joy is in my hands and not dependent upon others' wishes for me. So after a few moments of offering these gentle phrases of equanimity, we're going to return to our own experience, our own awareness, our own body in the room, and recognize that happiness is in our own hands. Be proud of your effort, practicing and encouraging happiness for yourself and for everyone. Thank you. Lovely. Hope you all enjoyed that equanimity meditation. It's a fun exercise and can be done in any form, simply extending phrases of equanimity, and you can create your own to someone you care about deeply, then perhaps someone you have more challenges with, and then finally some joyous practice. And then I like to kind of tie it all together. Lovely. So that brings us to our final departure, which again I like to end every class with the Zen koan. And today's parting wisdom or koan is: Shuzan held out his short staff and said, "If you call this a short staff, you oppose reality. If you do not call it a short staff, you ignore the fact. What do you wish to call it?" So I'll read that again. Shuzan held out his short staff and said, "If you call this a short staff, you oppose reality. If you do not call it a short staff, you ignore fact. What do you wish to call this?" Lovely. So there's some food for thought, Zen riddle, kind of shake up your conceptual thinking, and challenge the mind, little mind twister. Well, that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you all being here, taking this time for peace. I wish you all safe and best ventures until next time. Much love. All the best. Thank you. I'm going to hang out for 5 minutes, go through the chat if there is any. Lovely.